Orange Girl here with another scrapbooking process video for you. I am working with the Clique Kits for 2018 April, and I am on the ambassador team for the next 6 months there. And I am working mostly with Maggie Holmes Flourish. And so because it's that, there's so much floral activity in this collection that I thought it would be perfect to scrap these photographs of my garden. I should say, not really mine, my one true love's garden that he works so hard on every year from last year. This year, spring doesn't seem like it really wants to come. And so it's great to look at photographs of what is yet to come because it will be here. I know it will happen. It was 37 degrees today. It's April, and I'm just not thrilled about that. But anyway, my assignment this week was to do some mixed media, and so I am adding some Shimmers products here. All different kinds, mostly creamies. I started with Luck of the Irish, which is a creamies product, green, and then I'm adding some Daffodil and Dandelion, which is also creamies products. I tried to use a stencil there, but it did not work. I used some Vibes Velveteen Green, and I'm also adding some No Yoking. Both of those are the spritz, the sprays. And so I'm adding that and then using this packaging technique to kind of smush it around. And so I just keep going back and forth, basically between those 4 or 5 different things, 3 creamies products and a colorings and a vibes, and adding some splatters and smushing them around and so on and so forth, and then I'm adding my photos back in. I'm kind of concentrating on the top third of the page here, except for I know this is where my title's going to go, so I want a little bit behind my title here. So I'm going in and I'm just putting a little bit down right on the page, and then I'm adding a little bit more here and there, and then going ahead and smushing it down with my packaging. I use this technique a lot if you're new to my videos. And it's not anything I invented, of course. It's something that a lot of scrapbookers use. Typically, I use gesso on my layouts, but for this particular one, I did not because I am using a really thick cardstock. And I do get a little bit of warping, but it's a great basil marshmallow cardstock, and it just works really nicely, and it takes the liquid really, really well. So what I decided to do there was in the ephemera pack, there are a bunch of different vellum pieces, and I took one of them that has several butterflies on it, and I decided to fussy cut. And as I was fussy cutting that one out, I realized, oh, I wanted to put some at the bottom here. So I go ahead and put a little bit of that mixed media at the bottom just to kind of give a little paint down there, because I know I'm going to put a little something there on the edge. And then I go back to my fussy cutting. I cut out 3, actually I think I cut out 4, and I put 3 of them underneath this die cut from the die cut pack. I'm using 3 photographs and then this one die cut as kind of my main 3 images. And on that one from the die cut, it is butterflies. And so so basically this has a lot of flowers and a lot of butterflies on it. So I decide I'm looking for some things to layer with. And so I went to the printable and I decided, nah, I'm going to use that on something else. And now I'm going through because there are so many different tags in the ephemera pack. And so I'm pulling a bunch of them out. And I'm taking this one off the cut apart piece. And I end up moving things around a lot. And so you're going to see me move things around, and pretty much what I have there is not what it ends up, except for the basic grid design. I do like working on a grid every once in a while, and I haven't done one for a while, so I thought, I'm going to go ahead and I have these photos. They go great with the whole floral theme of the Flourish collection, and so I thought, I'm just going to go ahead and use a grid design. And so I'm going back in and I'm finding the smaller tags because I think I want to use the smaller tags. And I mess around with this quite a bit actually, but anyway, so these photographs are from last year, in I think July, and I decided that I was going to scrap them because they fit the theme, but also because I really needed a little pick me up because I feel like spring is never coming, and that groundhog whole thing, he was wrong. He was totally wrong. It is so cold here. And we did go on spring break, which was wonderful a couple of weeks ago, and so that was great. But now I've had a little experience with warm weather, and I'm ready for it to join us here in Iowa. So anyway, you saw me. I grabbed that cut apart sheet and I pulled off a card that says "Life is lovely." And I didn't end up using it as a layer. I might use it as another layer, so I will keep it. But I went ahead and I cut "This is lovely" off of that, and I'm going to use those as part of it as my title, and I think the rest of it does end up actually making it on the layout as well. So I found another, let's see, I think on the sticker sheet here, I found a strip of butterflies, and I cut around the border of it because I didn't really like what the border was, and thought I might put that down at the bottom, but it really wasn't working for me. So what I'm doing right now is I'm just kind of looking through what I have available to me and pulling things out that might make the cut and might not make the cut. Going through all of the flare here and trying to determine if I want another flare button maybe at the bottom, or what I end up deciding on. And I'm pulling a lot of green, a lot of yellow, because that's the kind of main color scheme that I really was going to try to go for here, was green and yellow with pops of black. And that is what I end up doing. So there is a little pink in it behind, but it's mostly in the layers behind the photos. So all right, so I have my basic design, and now I get to start doing some layering and do some more embellishing, and that really is the most fun of all of it. So I'm going to go ahead and put some tissue paper behind all three photos. Just gives it a little bit of a border, a little bit more of a border. I'm going to rough it up with my edging tool that I don't know what's called. It's shaped like a heart. I have no idea where I got it. I've had it like forever, that thing right there. It has a little blade in it, and it just roughs up the edges. So I'm just going to rough up the edges because, I don't know, there's something about the paint and then the added little pieces of black that make it seem like it's a little bit more messy. And so I mess it all up. Not really, but I do like rough up the edges of each of the background pieces as well as the tissue paper. So that's all I'm doing here, is just roughing up those edges. And I know as I'm doing this, I'm always thinking about like kind of the next step. And I know that there is some paper that has some, I don't know, sprigs. I don't know what to call it. It's like a floral. It's like the leaves, but it's black. And I know that I'm thinking about that as I'm cutting these out and getting everything kind of ready to glue down. And I'm thinking, I really think I'm going to do some fussy cutting and fussy cut out those sprigs. And so I do end up doing that here in just a few minutes. But once I get this stuff all roughed up, then I'm ready to kind of look through some of my embellishments, add some more layers. So what I did is I went through the die cut pack, and I'll probably not ever use this die cut piece, and it has lots of great color on it. So I'm going to use it as a layer behind two of the photos. I'm just going to rough it up and put one on one side and one on the other side. of a photo just to kind of give an idea of another layer. And it doesn't go behind it completely, but it doesn't really matter. I just like another little piece of color peeking out behind those photos. I think I find another one, another die cut that I end up using as well. Yeah, this one. And it has, I mean, they're great die cuts. They're just, I can't imagine that I'm going to use them for anything. And so I'm just cutting it and roughing it up and adding it behind the 3 photos. I don't remember if I end up adding anything behind that butterfly card or not. So just to save a little bit of glue, I'm going to go ahead and just staple with my tiny attacher the pieces of layers behind each of these together. That will hold them in place a little bit better. I'm not quite ready to glue things down. If you watch my videos, you'll know that I often will lay everything out and then go back and glue things down once I kind of am ready to commit to where I've placed the items. So I did end up getting a little bit of warping on this page. By the end, it's not so bad, but you can see there on the left, I have a, I don't know, like a bowl, and I put my scraps in there, but I have it holding down the left side, and then on the right side, I have some, my water jar holding it down. So what I was doing there is I ended up going off camera and stitching because it was just, you were getting to see my head and it just wasn't working so well. So off camera there I stitched through Lovely. I stitched through Life Is. I did some stitching down of the butterflies, and now I'm doing all of this fussy cutting. I found that sticker from the sticker sheet that has butterflies on it, and I decided that I went back to it and decided that I was going to cut out each of those butterflies. And then I did one and realized the other ones were actually going to be more difficult and they weren't worth it to me. So I toyed with the idea of still using that sticker at the bottom, but I don't think I end up doing that. So now I'm just trying to decide. I think I've got the basic idea of what I want to add. I need a couple more of these sprigs here, and then I'm going to add those as embellishments. And that kind of layers behind my photos too, but that's what I end up using, is that. And then also on the sticker sheet where it's this phrase, it says, happy little moments, and so I put those stickers underneath the title. Kind of not really journaling. I don't really journal on this layout. It's not, I don't know, it's not a journaling layout for me. I've journaled a lot about how my one true love creates this beautiful oasis around our house and in our backyard, and I've journaled about it a lot, so I didn't really feel like I needed to continue to do that. So I'm ready to glue things down, and as I'm gluing, I'm placing heavy objects on top of things so that they glue down. When you have that mixed media under there, it's a little bit more difficult to get things to stick, and so I am placing heavy objects over things, and I end up actually moving something here in a second, and it kind of rips a little bit. It works out fine. It's not a big deal. So I'm adding a few splatters. Actually, I think I do that movement off camera. I took a picture, a photograph of this, and realized it looked like eyes and a mouth. And so I end up moving the top left sprigs to underneath the layout. You'll see it here in a second on the final product. There you go. See how I moved it under the other Lovely. Thanks a lot. See you in the next video.